When you hear the lyrics, it keeps me searching for a heart of gold. What's the predominant thing that you hear? It's the word searching. And any time we stuck in the idea that we're searching, we can't possibly be in the experience, because the experience is always then in the future. It's the same thing as with the idea that I am a seeker. When we say that I am a seeker, everything is in the future. And so when we talk about that, this I'm searching for a pot of gold, it's not that, it's I am living from a consciousness of being and having a pot of gold. Do you feel the difference in those words? I'm being and having a difference by in the light. You see, the gold is simply a light. And when we're immersed in this idea that everything is light because everything is energy and everything is vibration and vibration is eternally forever and ever expanding, the light grows and becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And when we're immersed in that, we fall into the idea of oneness, into the idea of love, where we rest with everything that we desire already ours. Because when we explore this idea of what is it we desire and is it already ours or is it not, it's not about having something, it's about feeling it. Do you get that? So if you want to know what it's like to drive a Maserati, close your eyes. Imagine it. Let the energy waves flow through your body and get the feeling. If you want your relationship to be a bit different or to have one, what does it feel like? Get into that feeling nature. See, one of the things about science of mind, and I really love that that's what Ernest Holmes called that first book that he really wrote, The Science of Mind. Because when you think about it, it's not about wishing and hoping and some people getting something and some people not. There is a science of the mind that we know to be God. The infinite mind, universal spirit, divine intelligence, the cosmos. Call it anything you want. It is the seen, it is the unseen, the knowable and the unknowable, but it permeates and radiates in and through and as all things. And as we get to consciously use it, we can expand the experience we have. So there's a science, meaning it's practical. And what it's dealing with, it's dealing with universal mind. So we take the practicality and the universal mind and how do we apply them? And so one of the things that we've been talking about for the last few weeks is we've talked about the power of prayer. Not the power of beseeching and asking, but the power of declaring as if it were already ours. We've talked about using the power of affirmative statements by using prayer beads and doing them 108 times and shifting our consciousness. We've talked about the power of gratitude. We've talked about the power of imagination and visualization. And all of these things that we're talking about are about practical ways in which we learn how to use our mind. And what is our mind? Our mind is a microcosm of the macrocosm of all that exists. Infinite mind, in its wisdom, decided to be able to experience infinitely, so it created everything out of itself. Creating everything out of itself, it means that we are points of consciousness within the oneness of all that exists, with freedom to uniquely express and experience in every moment. The thing is, we must become a vibration to that which we seek for the law to draw to us, the events, the people, the circumstances that allow us to experience the feeling, to experience the result. So today, I want to talk to you about the great spiritual practice called sleep. And you're saying, whoa, I can do that practice. I know how to sleep. Some people are saying, I know how to sleep, but sometimes I have to get up in the middle of the night. That's okay. That means you get 2 sleeps. And there's going to be 2 opportunities. And some people laughing in the back, 3 or 4 opportunities. An author, Neville Goddard, talked about that the way to get into the subjective or subconscious mind is through two things. He said through prayer and through sleep. And I found it fascinating the first time I read that, so I've been exploring that for a couple weeks now and seeing what does it mean, and then does it work? See, I don't want to come up here and talk to you about something that I haven't tested. And so what I came to understand is what he was referring to was this idea that when you go into prayer, what are you doing? You're creating a state. You're creating a state of being in oneness, of being one with God, being perfect in that moment, being from that place that you already have. Because in prayer, we recognize the oneness that is God. We recognize our oneness with that infinite power and presence. And then we declare into law that I am now experiencing that which I desire to have. I then give thanks for it because I know it's already mine, and then I release it. I have no more thought or concern about it because I've done the mental work, and therefore I know it's done. That's the power of prayer. So what is prayer doing? It's releasing everything through a conscious use of mind into the subconscious, which creates whatever is there. Now, the subconscious mind, as we've talked about, creates not just our thoughts, but it creates the overall tendency of our thoughts, which must be accompanied by feelings. And isn't that great? Because if every thought was manifested in this second, there'd be crazy things happening in this room. Because people have crazy thoughts. Let's just be honest. If you've meditated, you know what monkey mind is. Monkey mind is shooting all these things all the time at you from all sorts of places. But there's a process. You see, the divine understood. Let's not give itself every thought. Let's let it be a tendency of thought. And so we have what we call the mental atmosphere, which is a sum total of everything that we thought. And then through the power of prayer, of getting into the oneness, we start to change that tendency. Because what are we doing? We're building a new belief. Because we understand, as the master teacher said, it is done unto us as we believe. And belief is not just a thought. A belief is a thought plus a feeling followed by inspired action. You can't have a belief without all three. Does that make sense? It does when you really break it down, because there are steps. It's not just thinking it. It's about building the feeling behind it. And when that feeling is there, what must you do? You act as if it is done. Okay? So let's go to that great spiritual practice of sleeping. And this is really incredible. So a lot of times we've been talking about the idea of gratitude. And we use gratitude before we go to sleep. So all the classes that we're teaching right now, they're just finishing last week, one finishing this next week, is that we've asked people that before they go to bed to be grateful for 3 to 5 things. Because you're shifting your consciousness in that moment to focusing on what was good in your life. I think that Neville hit something really big. And that is the idea of how do we go to sleep. Because if you think about the idea of sleep, what does it do? In sleep, the conscious mind or the monkey mind stops. So you've got pure subconscious mind. Your mind, your whole beingness goes into the subjective nature that you are. So what if lying there, after you've done some gratitude, you look at that aspect of your life that you desire to see differently. Let's assume you want to be a professional bowler. I'll use bowling as an example. You would be lying there in bed with your eyes closed, feeling what would it be like to just having bowled a perfect 300 game? What would it feel like every time you went up and you threw that ball and you made that moment? What would it feel like as you walked back and sat down in between your 2 shots that you have? What would it feel like if you were a professional bowler and the crowd was cheering because they saw perfection coming? What would it feel like? How confident would you be in your mind in that moment, feeling that very essence? What would that ball feel like on your fingers, having the perfect driller drilling the right holes in that ball so that your hand fits just perfectly? What if you knew how the lane was oiled a specific way that fit your exact style? And then, what would it feel like if all of a sudden that 12th ball preceded 11 perfect balls that led to that perfect 300. Now, close your eyes and go to sleep. See, what we've done is we have taken the feeling, we've anchored it into the mind. There's no distracting thought. We go into subjective mind. That's the last thing on the subjective mind. There's nothing else being fed on it. So if there's nothing else being fed on it, it takes it. And what happened? You thought it over and over again. You believed it, right? Because you felt it. You were building up a feeling. In your mind's eye, you visualized it over and over and over again. And then you set it into the law, and the law says what? It says, of course. Because it is done unto us as we believe. You know, they've done studies of this over and over again with basketball players. Or non-basketball players, they've done this where they've asked a group of them to every day do free throws. They've asked another group to mentally do free throws. What does it feel like to do free throws? What is it like to mentally do it? Not shooting them, but mentally shoot free throws. They asked another group to do nothing. And they measured them based on their first time, and they had a large enough group so the sample size was relevant. Well, at the end of the study, those that did nothing didn't improve. Those that shot actual free throws, their performance rate went way up. Those that visualized and felt it had the same level of performance as those that practiced. You see, the mind doesn't believe what it does. It believes what is put into it with belief and conviction. The mind is yours to control by how do you put it out into it. And so what I'm suggesting to you this next week is you take this idea of sleep and you find that one thing in your life, whatever that thing is, and you sit there for 2 to 3 minutes lying in that beautiful position and you visualize it, you ingrain it, you build a mental atmosphere around it, and you embody it. And don't look for it the next day. Be the person who already has it. The next night you go back into sleep again. You do it again. You see, it's not about, if you focus on it not being there, where's your consciousness? It's not there. You want to become the person, the man or the woman who already has it in their life now. And this means you must turn away from society. Did you hear that? Because society is going to say, I'm not going to believe it until I see it. And that's backwards. You can't see it until you believe it. You may have the perfect job opportunity for you right in front of you right now. But you may not believe that you're worthy of it. You may not believe it's even there. And because the belief isn't there, you can't even see it. If you are looking for a perfect partner in life, that partner could be right in this room. Everybody look around. Right in this room. But if you're not open, coming from the place of already being that perfect person, you're not going to see it. You may say, I need financing for this great idea that I've got. But if you're not being the person who's walking around knowing what they're doing is worth a lot of money, it's worth someone investing in, no one's going to know that for you. So when you come from that, you radiate an energy. I don't know about you, but one of the things I love to do is people watch. And when I do people watching, what I notice more than anything is what is the energy they're bringing in? And that energy will draw you to them or draw you away from them. Does that make sense? I want to see your heads move because I want to see you connected. Thank you, Dottie. I can always count on beautiful Dottie. Because when you resonate with an energy, that means there's a connection. There's a feeling of oneness there. Because you're going to resonate with someone who's vibrating at the same level or frequency that you are. That's the real interesting thing. That's where you get people like Jim Rohn, Mark Victor Hansen. Well, Jim Rohn tells a story about Mark Victor Hansen going up to Tony Robbins and saying to Tony, hey, I do what you do what I do. I sell books, you sell books. I do speeches, you do speeches. I do workshops, you do workshops. How come you make 10 times more money? And Tony said to him, who do you hang around with? And he says, I hang around with people that are worth $10 to $12 million. And Tony says, I hang around with people that are worth $100 million. See, it's the frequency of those that are around you. Jim Rohn made the statement, who are the 5 people you hang around with the most? Chances are your experience will be just like them. Because that's the vibration you're putting out. And that goes back to a class that we had in Prosperity Plus 2, where we talked about the idea of fears. And one of the fears that holds people back is the fear that if I become more, these people will no longer be in my life. That's a real fear. That is a fear for me that I have had to work through. If I become this, will the people that I love the most be in vibrational match to follow me, to be with me, to be partnered with me? That's a silly fear. Because to have that fear means I'm not in oneness. Because the essence of the divine is always to be more. Can you hear that? It's to be more. That's what creative intelligence is. It's constantly expanding and becoming more and more and more. So we as creative intelligence are not meant to not become more. We are meant to constantly becoming more and more and more and more. And it doesn't matter how young we are, how old we are, how few resources we have, what sexuality we are. It doesn't matter if you're married, single. None of that stuff matters. Because you are meant to create uniquely as yourself. One of the things that I did as I practiced this sleep, spiritual practice, I know I'm unique. I know that a lot of people might say I'm weird. I know that I've never followed the crowd. And I sat back with my eyes closed and I just embodied it. Because you know what? It's who I am. It's also who you are. You really want to think about it, you're weird. Because there's no one on the planet that is like you. There's no one on the planet that wants to be you. In real reality, everyone really wants to be themselves and wants to be accepted for being themselves. But here's the thing. No one can accept you for being yourself until you accept yourself first. When you accept yourself first, then you put yourself out, and now people can see the real you, and they can accept you as you are. That's why I chose that one to go to sleep with for a week. So I chose to go to sleep with Lee. I chose to go to sleep with Lee, a new image of Lee. An image of Lee being the most perfect, whole, and complete, unique expression of God, doing that which lights his heart. John Demartini, who will be here in a few weeks, talks about this. He says one of his favorite affirmations that's become one of mine is, I do what I love, and I love what I do. And when you really think about that, wouldn't that be the coolest thing? To just do what you love. And knowing what you love, then everything you do, you come from love. And then there's no fret. Well, I got to go into work today. God, is it hump day yet? Oh, thank God it's Friday. You know, when you really think about those statements that we've blindly embodied, they take us out of our experience of the now. We're always looking forward. We're looking to something coming up instead of right here, right now. Monday is a great day. People, oh, I hate Monday. I love Monday. Monday are 6 letters, right? Someone arranged them in that sequence. They put an attachment that the next day in their mind was going to be that, and now there's this whole consciousness built up around Monday. Guess what? You can change that for yourself. Because at Agape, as we teach the science of mind, we don't teach you what to think. We teach you to think for yourself. We teach you how to think because we think you to ask questions to find out what is truly yours. Who are you really? How do you experience the oneness of God? Now, no matter where you are on your path, how long you've been meditating, praying, affirming, gratituding, I know from the day that you were born, you know how to sleep. So I'm going to ask you this week to take 2 minutes When you're lying there, close your eyes and see yourself as you desire yourself to be. And I want you to know, when you see yourself like that, smile. Don't have a serious look on your face. Because when you're seeing yourself the way you want to be, you can't help but smile. Because this is what you've been waiting for all of your life. I look forward to hearing your experiences. And if you get really big ones, email me. I would love to share them with this community, because this community loves to hear about how people progress and succeed and experience the greatest life of all, their own, which is God in expression. Let us go within. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.